I was halfway through watching a dirt track racing crash reel, one of those 8-minute videos filled with awful country music and even worse camera work, when my phone lit up with a security alert. The screen flashed bright red. Critical breach detected. It snapped me out of my focus instantly. I opened it without hesitation. The alert wasn't about a bad login or a forgotten password. The system had detected an unauthorized replication attempt. Someone was trying to copy my towing dispatch platform. My chest tightened. One specific line in the alert told me everything I needed to know. Source ID matched to new device user Rick Dalton. Rick Dalton. Seriously, he'd been on the job for 3 weeks and was already trying to crawl into my system like I wouldn't catch it. I sat there frozen for about 5 seconds, then grabbed my laptop and headed straight into my home office. I wasn't worried. I had logs. My system recorded everything: device IDs, failed replication attempts, browser fingerprints, timestamps, all of it. I had built this platform from the ground up over 5 years, layer by layer. Every time a tow driver checked in, every route tracked, every invoice sent out, the system handled it. And it was locked down tight. Rick clearly thought I was just some upgraded dispatcher. He had no idea how deep the tracking ran inside that code. He didn't know replication attempts were stored inside isolated vaults, completely separate from the main logs. He also didn't know the entire platform was registered under my LLC, not the company's name. I turned on a screen recording, logged into the back-end dashboard, and pulled up the vault logs. There it was. Rick's attempt had triggered 3 failovers. He had used a company-issued laptop from the main office in Concord, New Hampshire at 6:42 a.m., before anyone else was even logged in. I exported the logs, named the file Unauthorized Accessor Dalton, and saved it to a locked drive. Then I backed up the backups. That's when the anger hit. This wasn't some clueless employee poking around. This was a grown man, a fleet director, someone trying to take something that didn't belong to him, something I built. I leaned forward over my desk and stared at the screen, hands clenched tight. "All right, Rick," I said out loud. "Let's see how smart you really are." I opened a blank document and started outlining my next steps. Bullet points, timestamps, IP traces, failed clone paths, system response logs. I wrote everything down carefully. My hands stayed steady, but my jaw tightened. That's always where stress hits me first, right in the jaw. While the logs finished exporting, my thoughts drifted backward. When I first joined the company, they had 6 trucks. Only 3 were running. The other 3 sat behind the yard like scrap metal. Dispatch was handled using a laminated whiteboard and a phone that barely worked whenever it rained. The guy running it smoked non-stop, guessed mileage from memory, and handled billing with a pencil. At that time, I was freelancing. Small coding jobs, basic automation work, back-end cleanup for trucking companies that barely had functional websites. The owner, Lydia, brought me in to streamline dispatch. That was her phrase. I didn't streamline it. I wiped it out and rebuilt everything from scratch. The first thing I created was a real-time dispatch board that pulled live updates directly from driver phones. Then I added automated job stacking with distance calculations and driver fatigue alerts. Next came billing, fully automated by the mile with no delays. After that, I built client dashboards, service history logs, and scheduled maintenance tracking. And through all of it, I made sure one thing stayed clear. The system was mine. I paid a lawyer to draft a licensing agreement so clean it made other developers jealous. My LLC owned the code, the tools, the infrastructure, everything. The company didn't even have edit access to the core modules. They were licensed users, nothing more. And I wasn't naive. I knew companies got greedy when things started scaling. That's why I locked it down tight. Every update I released came with a detailed changelog. Every module in the platform had its own license ID. The contract spelled it out in plain, simple language. Any attempt to access, copy, or duplicate the system without written approval would immediately terminate usage rights. No warnings, no transition period. It ended on the spot. Lydia signed the agreement without hesitation. She didn't overthink it. She just wanted the system to work. And once it did, she didn't care who built it as long as her phone stopped ringing at midnight. Then the company took off. Within a year, we added 2 more yards, one in Worcester, one in Portland. After that came commercial contracts, insurance partnerships, DOT inspections. With every expansion, I expanded the system right along with it. Faster routing, cross-yard scheduling, equipment audits, driver performance scoring, geofencing. No one asked for any of it. I built those features because I could see what was coming before they did. By year 4, the platform was running the entire East Regional operations, and even then, even after all that, people still asked if it was just a program. That's what made Rick's move sting the most. He wasn't confused. He wasn't new and poking around. He knew exactly what he was doing. He saw a system that outperformed anything they'd ever used. He noticed the name on it wasn't his and decided, I'll just take it. That's what this was. Not a security error, not an accident. It was a deliberate move, a quiet power grab made 3 weeks into the job, before most people even knew who he was. I went back to the logs. His access path was too clean. He completely skipped the user interface and tried to connect directly to the back-end API like a developer would. That wasn't curiosity. That was intent. I exported the final file, added a timestamp to the folder name, and compressed everything into a single archive. While the progress bar crawled across the screen, I scrolled through some of the earliest change notes I'd written, details I'd almost forgotten. Added dark mode for dispatchers working night shifts. Fixed job loop error when driver location stalls. I remembered staying up until 2 a.m., tracking down a mobile push failure that was breaking ETA alerts. Every part of that platform carried my fingerprints. And now this guy wanted to claim it like I was just a stepping stone. I didn't get emotional. I got focused. Because if Rick thought this was just code, he was about to learn how deeply it was wired. I locked the folder, secured the drive, and left it untouched. I wasn't going to make the first move. Rick wanted a game. He could start it. The weekly operations call kicked off at 9 sharp the next morning. Zoom, as always. 15 people on screen. Most cameras on. Mike talking loudly, jumping between yard numbers and overdue invoices. Rick joined 3 minutes late. No camera, no mic, just his name sitting in the corner of the screen like a ghost. I didn't react. I delivered my updates like I always did. Patch rollout complete, driver feedback positive, 2 minor bug reports logged for the mobile app. My voice stayed even. My eyes stayed locked on the camera. Rick didn't say a single word, not even when someone asked him directly about fuel roading. After the call ended, I stood up, grabbed a protein bar, sat back down, and opened a blank email. My hands moved without hesitation. Subject: Platform usage reminder, licensing and IP terms. Hi team. Just a quick note to reshare the licensing terms related to the dispatch system I've developed and continue to maintain, as previously documented. The platform is licensed to the company through my LLC, and all intellectual property rights remain with me under our existing agreement. Any access, replication, or system modifications must be authorized in writing. Documentation is attached for reference. Thanks, Haley. I attached the original contract, the latest license renewal, and a 1-page overview outlining the access structure. Then, quietly, without drawing attention to it, I added one more name to the CC line. My attorney, Jenna Vickers. No dramatic subject line, no warning flags, just enough weight to make anyone reading it pause. I hit send and closed my laptop. 2 hours later, Rick replied. No greeting, no context. I need full administrative access to all back-end functions by EOD. There is no reason critical infrastructure should be owned externally. Please confirm by 3 p.m. That was it. I stared at the screen, smiled once, and forwarded the email. Jenna called me 7 minutes later. No hello. He's bluffing. We'll bury him in documentation. She sounded annoyed, not surprised. I could hear typing in the background. Let him push again, she said. We've got 3 contracts, 6 updates, and an airtight paper trail. He wants a fight. He's going to choke on it. I leaned back in my chair. You want me to respond? Nope. Radio silence. Let him sweat. The call ended. I set my phone down and stared out the window at nothing in particular. I wasn't shaken. I wasn't even surprised. But I felt the heat start rising behind my ears, the same feeling I always got when someone tried to box me in. Rick wanted to treat me like just another replaceable tech vendor. Disposable, swappable. He had no idea what he'd walked into. Letting him speak first was the trap, and now he was standing right in it. I pushed back from my chair, rolled my shoulders once, and got to work. No pacing, no venting, just movement. The first thing I did was open a brand new spreadsheet. I titled it Counterpoints. Then I started listing every angle Rick might try to use. Ownership assumptions, system dependency arguments, contract loopholes, anything he might reach for. Next, I called Jenna. Hey, I said. You free to break this down right now? Her response was sharp and immediate. I'm already reviewing it. We stayed on the phone for over 2 hours. Every claim he could possibly throw at us, we shut down with clear proof. By the time we wrapped up, we had 29 legal counterpoints, each one supported by emails, contract clauses, screenshots, and records. Some were single lines. Others were full paragraphs with time-stamped updates going back 5 years. There was no gray area, no room to twist anything. After that, I opened the admin panel and started recording. I walked through every setting. Access tiers, audit trails, the structure showing how full system control flowed through my LLC portal. I recorded my login process, admin lockout safeguards, and back-end controls that couldn't be altered without private encryption keys stored offline. I narrated everything slowly and clearly, step by step, like I was assembling evidence for a jury. When I finished, I exported the video and saved 2 copies, one on a physical drive, one in the cloud. Then I grabbed the spare phone I used for development testing. I switched it to airplane mode and set it to audio recording. I slipped it inside a clean water bottle sleeve with the microphone facing upward. Low tech. Quiet. Just enough to capture voices if the conversation went sideways. I wasn't being paranoid. I was being thorough. People like Rick expect reactions. They assume they can throw you off balance long enough to take control. But I don't react. I build. And I was building the cage he was about to step into. That afternoon, I walked through every scenario out loud. Questions he might ask. Comments meant to bait me. Passive-aggressive jabs designed to knock me off rhythm. I stood in my living room like it was a courtroom, answering each one calmly. Why do you believe you still control the system? I don't believe I control it. I own it. Per contract section 12, line 4, intellectual property developed externally and licensed to the company remains under the sole ownership of the developer. What makes you think we can't run operations without you? You're free to try. That doesn't grant permission to access, copy, or replicate a system you don't legally own. I practiced for hours, until I didn't flinch when I said the words, until my voice stayed level, controlled, steady, not angry. That part was the hardest, keeping emotion out of it, because deep down, I wanted to throw every word straight back in Rick's face, but that wouldn't get me what I needed. I didn't need payback. I needed the win. By sunset, every document was labeled, every backup secured, every response polished. I printed hard copies of the 3 most critical contracts and slid them into a folder labeled Ownership Enforcement, Dalton. Then I reopened Rick's email, read it slowly, and laughed under my breath. He honestly thought I'd fold, like I'd just hand everything over because he typed demands in bold. I plugged the spare phone into charge, tested the microphone, and slipped it back into the sleeve. It would sit next to my water bottle during the meeting. Nothing suspicious, just insurance. I leaned back on the couch and said it one last time, slow and steady. You don't get to steal what you don't understand. I was ready. I joined the meeting 1 minute early, camera on, mic muted. The spare phone rested beside my water bottle, recording quietly. I didn't touch it again. Rick joined right on time, camera on this time. He wasn't alone. The CFO was there, Sandra Miller, tight smile, legal pad open, and HR, Tom Alvarez, arms crossed, already checked out. Rick got straight to it. We're going to address this directly, he said. This system has become too critical to be controlled externally. It's time to transfer all operational control to the company. I nodded once. Okay. Sandra leaned forward. From a risk perspective, this setup isn't sustainable. I clicked share screen. Before we go there, I want to reference the contract. Rick waved his hand. We've all read it. Then this won't take long, I said, pulling up section 12. I highlighted the clause. Ownership of all intellectual property remains with May LLC. The company retains licensed usage rights only. Rick leaned back. That clause doesn't reflect reality anymore. The system is too integrated. You can't run core operations on something you don't control. I moved to the next slide. Continuity protocols, one-click backup architecture, redundancy mapping, failover timelines. The system operates independently of my personal access, I said. There are automated backups every 6 minutes mirrored across 2 regions. Total downtime over the last 12 months was under 9 minutes. Sandra blinked. 9 minutes? Yes, I said, including maintenance windows. Rick cut in. That's not the point. The company needs full admin rights. No, I said. You want full admin rights. Tom finally spoke. Rick, let her finish. I pulled up the access hierarchy. Here's the separation. Operational admins, financial viewers, dispatch supervisors. Core system control remains locked under my license. Rick shook his head. You're making yourself a single point of failure. I didn't raise my voice. That's incorrect. I clicked again. Here are the emergency access protocols, pre-approved triggers, third-party escrow access, all documented. Sandra flipped through her notes. This is thorough. Rick's jaw tightened. You're avoiding the real issue. I stopped sharing my screen. No, I said. Now we're getting to it. I opened the log folder. On Tuesday morning at 6:42 a.m., there was an unauthorized replication attempt against the back-end API. Rick stiffened. What? I shared the screen again. Device ID, timestamp, username, Rick Dalton. This was not a login error. This was a direct clone attempt. Tom's head snapped toward Rick. Is that accurate? Rick's voice sharpened. I was reviewing system dependencies. You bypassed the interface, I said. That's not review, that's access. Sandra frowned. Rick, did you request permission? Rick didn't answer. I clicked into the device fingerprint. Corporate laptop, main office, logged in before standard hours. The room went silent. Tom cleared his throat. Rick? Rick leaned forward, palms flat on the desk. This is getting off track. No, I said. This is the track. I stopped sharing my screen and looked straight into the camera. Per the contract, any unauthorized access attempt triggers immediate review and potential termination of license usage. Rick laughed once. It sounded forced. You're pushing this too far. I didn't answer. He straightened in his chair. Fine. Then here's our decision. Effective immediately, your services are terminated. Sandra turned toward him. Rick, he raised a hand. We'll manage the transition internally. Tom opened his mouth, then shut it again. I nodded once, slowly. Understood. Rick smiled. You'll deliver a full system handover by end of day. I met his gaze. No, I won't, he scoffed. You don't have a choice. I closed my laptop and reached over to stop the recording. No rush, no slammed lids. I stood up, walked into my office, and closed the door behind me like it was any other Tuesday. Then I sat down and documented everything. I wrote a clean, factual timeline. Meeting start time, attendees, Rick's exact wording, the moment he said terminated. No opinions, no emotion, just facts. I attached the recording, the access logs, and the contract section he had just walked straight into. Then I invoked the clause. Subject: contract termination trigger, license revocation, body. Per Section 14, termination of my services by company leadership triggers immediate revocation of all platform usage rights. This revocation is effective immediately, with no grace period and no handover requirement. A shutdown schedule is attached for operational clarity. Regards, Haley. I sent it to Rick, Lydia, the CFO, HR, legal, and my attorney. Then I attached the schedule. It was simple, clinical. Every component listed with a timestamp. Dispatch boards, 4 p.m. Driver mobile access, 4:10. Client portals, 4:15. Maintenance tracking, 4:20. Reporting dashboards, 4:30. No threats, no commentary, just a clock. At 3:58, my phone buzzed. Rick calling. I let it ring. At 4 p.m. exactly, I clicked disable on the dispatch boards. The screen refreshed. Active jobs froze. New assignments stopped populating. The system reacted exactly as it was designed to. Emails started coming in within 2 minutes. Dispatch is acting strange. Drivers can't see new calls. Is there an outage? I didn't respond. At 4:10, I shut off driver mobile access. Phones stopped syncing. Location pings dropped. More emails. At 4:15, client portals went dark. Insurance partners lost visibility. Automated billing paused mid-cycle. My inbox filled fast. Operations managers, yard supervisors, regional leads. Rick called again. I declined it. At 4:20, maintenance schedules went offline. DOT alerts stopped. Equipment status locked into read-only mode. Then Rick emailed me. Haley, this is excessive. We can work this out. Turn it back on. I stared at the message for a second, then archived it. This wasn't emotional. It was mechanical. He pulled a lever, and the machine responded. At 4:25, a message came in from a yard manager I actually liked. Please tell me this is temporary. I typed a sentence, deleted it, didn't send anything. At 4:30, I shut down the reporting dashboards. The final piece. No metrics, no visibility, just raw chaos behind the scenes. My phone buzzed nonstop. I set it face down. Rick emailed again. You're putting the company at risk. I didn't open it. The truth was simple. He had already done that. I leaned back and watched the system logs roll in. Each shutdown confirmed. Each access denial stamped with a timestamp. Everything was doing exactly what it was built to do. This wasn't revenge. It was enforcement. I closed my laptop, stood up, and walked out to grab a glass of water, letting the silence do the work. I was halfway through the glass when the first real call came in. Lydia. I let it ring twice, then answered. Haley, what the hell is going on? Her voice was tight, stressed, not yelling yet. System access was revoked, I said evenly. Per Clause 14 of the license agreement. Rick terminated the contract. That triggered automatic shutdown. You're shutting down the whole company. No, I said. Rick did that. I'm enforcing the terms he agreed to. She didn't respond right away. I could hear fast breathing, phones ringing in the background. Can you at least slow it down? Just give us. I followed the timeline to the second, I said. Everything was laid out in the email I sent at 3:13 p.m. Jesus. I stayed quiet. Then she hung up. At 4:28, another email arrived. Rick again. Subject: urgent. Need a 1-hour pause. Haley, this has gone too far. Please give us a 1-hour grace period to stabilize. No legal action, just a pause, please. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The subject line said enough. I refreshed my inbox and watched. 32 unread messages in 10 minutes. Field managers, office admins, support staff. Everyone realizing the lights weren't flickering. They were off. Then, at 4:34 p.m. exactly, it landed. Subject: immediate reinstatement, license agreement. A scanned PDF, signed by the board. Effective immediately, my service contract was fully reinstated, and all prior access rights were restored under the original agreement. No renegotiation, no changes, a complete reversal. I read it twice, downloaded it, saved it to 2 drives. Then I opened the admin panel. Everything was still frozen. Queues stalled, tickets pending, location data dead. It looked like a system from 20 years ago. I began restoring modules one at a time. Dispatch first, driver sync next, client portals, maintenance logs, reporting. As each component came back online, I sent a single message to the team. License reinstated, access restored, system live. Haley, that was it. No apology, no recap, no victory lap. Within 5 minutes, the noise stopped. Emails slowed, phones went quiet. Rick didn't write again. He'd made his move. He thought he could walk in, throw his weight around, and walk out with the system tucked neatly under his arm. Instead, he triggered a total collapse, and I was the one who pulled the lever. There was no way to spin it, no way to save face. He didn't just lose control, he exposed how little he ever had in the first place. The next day, Rick didn't show up to the morning operations call. No email, no camera, not even his name sitting in the Zoom grid. Just gone. At first, no one said anything. The meeting rolled on like usual. Driver delays, invoice issues, equipment flagged for replacement. But you could feel it in the pauses. People were waiting for someone to explain what was going on. No one did. The following day, same thing. No Rick. Then a full week passed. Still nothing. No memo. No HR announcement. Sandra and Tom kept attending meetings like it was business as usual. But anytime someone mentioned Rick's name, they skipped right over it like he'd never existed. That's when the rumors started. He was suspended. He took a leave. The board asked him to resign. Legal shut him down before Haley sued. Nobody knew for sure. HR stayed silent, and Lydia stopped showing up to meetings altogether. I didn't ask. I didn't care. Whatever backroom agreement they made had nothing to do with me anymore. Then, 2 weeks after the shutdown, the invite arrived. Subject: Introduction, Interim Operations Director. His name was Andrew Fitzgerald. No photo, no background summary, just joining effective immediately. Our first call with him was Monday morning. His camera turned on, clean background, button-down shirt, clear audio. He smiled, gave a small wave, and said, "Good morning, everyone. I'm here to learn, not shake things up." Big difference already. He didn't dominate the call. No speeches, no power plays. He took notes, asked short questions, and actually listened. You could tell he didn't come in with a script. After the meeting, he messaged me directly. "Hey, Haley, I'd love to schedule some time this week to go over how the system is structured. Not asking for access, just context." That line stuck with me. Not asking for access. I replied and sent him a few available time slots. He picked one and joined early. The one-on-one lasted 47 minutes. Calm, focused, productive. He came prepared with a notepad full of real questions and let me talk. He didn't interrupt, didn't talk over me, didn't try to impress me with buzzwords or management jargon. He just wanted to understand. About halfway through, I explained how the licensing structure protected both sides. He nodded. Honestly, he said, that makes sense. Keeps expectations clean. When the call ended, I noticed something felt different. I wasn't tense. No alarms going off in my head. No need to prepare a defense. He wasn't trying to take anything. He was trying to run operations without breaking the engine that kept the company moving. And that told me everything I needed to know. Then, 2 weeks after that one-on-one with Andrew, another email came in. Subject: Consulting Agreement Renewal. Attached was a new long-term contract, and this wasn't boilerplate filler either. It was solid, clear compensation terms, tighter licensing language, and a new clause requiring any admin access request to go through formal escalation, with written approval from both legal and tech. No shortcuts, no assumptions. I read every line, sent it to Jenna, and signed it without a single edit. It felt different this time. They weren't treating me like a plug-in developer anymore. I wasn't just the tech person. I was the architect, and they finally treated me like one. After the contract was signed, Andrew scheduled a project review call. Not a lecture, not a pitch, just the two of us walking through what was working and what needed improvement. If we're building more yards next year, he said, I want to do it the right way, using your framework. That's the only way it works, I replied. From there, everything settled. Projects moved forward. Driver feedback came in cleaner. The system kept running smoothly. No surprise logins. No vague emails asking about access. No one touched what they weren't supposed to touch. It was quiet, functional, locked in. Rick never came up again. Not in meetings, not in side chats, not in company updates, just gone. His name disappeared like bad code stripped out of the back end. No announcement, no farewell, no cleanup memo, like the whole thing never happened. And I didn't ask. I didn't need a public apology. I didn't need a corporate write-up. I didn't need recognition. I needed control. And I kept it. So what do you think? Was Rick bold? Or just plain stupid? Drop your take in the comments.